It's 3 a.m. and your mind is already in tomorrow. You're thinking about work, you're thinking about money. You might even be thinking about your relationships, personal relationships, work relationships. You might be thinking about your health. Have you felt a bit off lately, maybe, or, just not really feeling yourself? You'll be thinking about decisions you haven't even made yet, and they're already making you feel like you're under pressure, and you're under pressure to get them decisions right. If this is happening to you, it's easy to assume something is wrong with your thinking. But in reality, future focused worry at night is a very, very human response. The problem is when it becomes a pattern and it's something that you're doing on a regular basis, because eventually it's not just your sleep that suffers. Your energy suffers, your confidence suffers, your decision making suffers, your ability to actually enjoy life. Enjoying the life that you've worked so hard to build. They steal it away from you, these thoughts. So hi, I'm Cheryl and I'm the creator of the Heart to Heal method. I work with people who experience anxiety and overwhelm and burnout and emotional pressure, including professionals, leaders, business owners, high achievers. And half of these people appear to be really composed during the day, but often carry significant pressure behind the scenes. One of the most common things that I hear from people is my mind won't stop running through everything that could go wrong. And if I'm honest, there was a time in my own life when I knew that feeling so well. I spent years carrying responsibilities for other people, trying to keep everybody happy, trying to hold everything together, trying to anticipate problems before they actually happened. And when life became particularly difficult for me, I realised in my mind that I was stuck in a constant state of preparing for the next challenge, waiting for the next thing to happen. Even if there wasn't one going to happen, I would still be preparing for that. So in this video, I'll explain why the mind does this, what's happening in your nervous system, and what actually helps to reduce the future focused worry over time. So why does our mind travel into the future at night time? Our brain is designed to anticipate. It's one of its most important jobs, really, because it's designed to keep you safe. And long before modern life existed, our survival depended on predicting threats and preparing for uncertainty. And that ability is still with us today. Some of the traits that we got from the cave people, we still have them with us today, and our brain is like, oh no, I need to figure out what all these dangers are going to be, and I need to find a way of putting things in place so when this danger happens, I'm ready for it. And that's a good thing, and I don't want people to get rid of that entirely because it really does help us. But when it becomes a problem, that's the time that we need to sort of step back and take a look at it. The difference in today's modern life, obviously, is instead of worrying about predators coming to eat us, we're worrying about deadlines, finances, relationships, health concerns, business decisions, family responsibility. And during the day, our attention is occupied with all the things that are going around us. We're busy solving problems, we're busy getting things done. But at night, that distraction disappears and in comes the caveman. Our emails stop coming in so we don't have to answer them. Conversations end so you don't have to think about that. The world becomes a lot quieter and suddenly your mind has room to think. In trots little caveman, and he starts to run scenarios. He starts thinking patterns. he starts to think, whoa, what's going to go wrong? What if I miss something? What if I make that wrong decision and everything goes tits up? What if I can't handle what's coming next? And what I want you to know is this isn't a malfunction. It's our protective system trying to reduce uncertainty because our brain loves to know what's going on, what's going to be next. And the problem is that 3 a.m. tiredness often makes uncertainty feel much, much bigger than it really is. It can seem enormous, and a lot of that time we can't cope with that. One of the biggest mistakes people make is trying to force their thoughts away, trying to ignore them. You might say to yourself, you're lying there or you're sitting there or whatever it might be, and you say to yourself, just stop thinking about it, go away, I'll deal with you tomorrow, I need to get some sleep. And while this sounds really logical, it often doesn't work. Because your nervous system isn't looking for sleep. Your nervous system and your brain is like, no, 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 I don't want to go to sleep. I want you to sit here with me or lie here with me, and I want you to look for safety. I want you to let me know and reassure me that I'm safe. If your system believes that there's unresolved threat or unresolved uncertainty or responsibilities, it'll keep scanning. It'll keep analysing. It'll keep preparing. And the more pressure that you're carrying, the harder it becomes to simply just switch it all off. I've seen this so many times in both my professional work and in my own life. I've been through this. I've had that big switch that I can't switch off. When I was dealing with cancer, I had breast cancer, and there was family breakdowns, relationship challenges, and major life changes all going on all at the same time. My mind wasn't trying to ruin my sleep. It was trying to protect me. But the problem was that it never felt finished. I always had a lot of loose ends. There were always another problem to solve. There was always another responsibility to carry. There was always another uncertainty to prepare for. I thought that I had it all under control, but I didn't. And many people live like that for years without realising the impacts that it's having. I did it for years and years and years. When future focused worry becomes a regular pattern, it begins affecting far more than just your night times. And you'll probably notice that your concentration is not great. You'll probably notice that you feel really, really mentally exhausted. You'll find that your anxiety levels might be a little more higher than they usually are. Or you might notice anxiety coming in if you've not noticed it before. You might find that you can't quite make that decision. You might feel a bit less confident when you go into a meeting. And you feel really overwhelmed by all the responsibilities that you would normally just manage really well. Many high performers become really, really frustrated with this because logically they know that they're capable of doing it. But internally, they feel like they're carrying a weight that nobody else can see. And you don't really know how many people are actually carrying that weight. I was watching something, it was on a Facebook reel actually, and it was about a big corporate company who they were having a strategic meeting, and there was an intern who worked at the company or had an internship at the company, and she was sat in the meeting, and while the meeting was going on, she'd nodded off. And one of the others that was in this meeting, when the meeting had finished, was like, she needs to be sacked, she fell asleep, it's not professional, blah, blah, blah. But the boss of the company decided to get her into the office, speak to her to see what was going on. Anyway, it turned out that she had been sleeping in a car. She'd not been able to find a place to live. she didn't want to let people down at the company because she was really happy there and she wanted to eventually become an employee there. And she said to her boss, look, my landlord had thrown me out of my apartment because he was wanting to get rid of it and I couldn't find anywhere to live. I didn't have enough money. So I've been sleeping in my car and that's why I'm exhausted. And the reason why I was sleeping in my car, in the car park, near to where I work, is because I didn't want to let anybody down in the company and I didn't want to, not be here and to look like I wasn't reliable. And that lady became a director of that company. But if they'd have just gone off what the other guy was saying, he would have fired her without actually looking what was going on. So you never really know what people are carrying and what issues they've got. And I know people will say, and I've heard it lots of times, oh, you shouldn't bring your problems to work. But you can't just drop your problems off at the door. That doesn't work. It's just not something that happens. So being mindful of what other people are going through can make a massive difference. And just asking somebody, are you all right? Do you need to talk? Do you need a bit of support? It makes a massive difference, believe me. So as I said, if you're carrying a lot of this weight, over time, it can really start to affect your well-being, your performance, your relationships, and your overall quality of life. And this is why I often say that anxiety isn't always a problem. Sometimes the anxiety is the signal that your brain is saying to you, and the real issue is the pressure that's sitting underneath that. Now, the goal here isn't to stop your mind from thinking about the future. We all think about the future. It's a wonderful place to be. And to try and stop yourself from thinking about the future is virtually impossible. And honestly, it isn't really a desirable thing to do because the future gives us hope and we love being there. But planning ahead is one of the strengths that helps people to succeed. And the goal is to stop living in constant states of anticipation. Quite often the worst case scenario that we think about isn't the scenario at all. And using my Heart to Heal method, I can help people to identify the deeper pressures driving those nighttime patterns. And this often will include things like understanding stress and anticipation patterns, regulating the nervous system more effectively, processing fear instead of suppressing that fear, and reducing emotional overload, building healthier boundaries around responsibilities. That's a big one for people. And strengthening self-trust under uncertainty. Because when people trust themselves more, they stop feeling the need to mentally rehearse every single possible future outcome. And that's when the mind often begins to start to settle down. And clients will come to me and they'll say things like, oh, I had a fantastic night's sleep last night. It was unbelievable. I never even saw 3 o'clock. They'll tell me that they're overthinking less. They have great clarity, which is a big one. Improved confidence. A stronger sense of calm when they're really under pressure. They have a stronger sense of calm in that pressure. And it's not because life has suddenly become a lot easier. It's because they've become better equipped at navigating that uncertainty. If you ever find yourself awake at 3 a.m. trying to prepare for every possibility, every future scenario, then you're really not alone. And before you go, I'd like to leave you with one question. What uncertainty is your mind trying to protect you from right now? Can you think of just one? Because sometimes the worry isn't the real issue. Sometimes it's the responsibility, the pressure, or the fear beneath it that's asking for that attention. If this video resonates with you, then subscribe and follow along for more content on anxiety, emotional resilience, burnout, well-being and sustainable high performance. And if you'd like to learn more about the Heart to Heal method or explore working with me, you'll find details in the description below. Take care and I shall see you in the next video. Bye for now.